Welcome to Homeschooling for Spirituality. The Flow is a delightful mix of insight, divine inspiration, and humor, where wisdom meets earthiness to help your ongoing spiritual growth and transformation. Follow the flow of enlightenment and explore everything spiritual through the deepest self-inquiry, as student Lisa Berry asks Master Spiritual Teacher G.P. Walsh the kinds of questions you would ask an elder, a wise man, or a sage, and receive direct, simple, comprehensive, and deeply human lessons and teachings. From transcending the experience of separation, releasing old conditioned patterns and wounds, and alleviating suffering, to demystifying esoteric practices and revealing one's true purpose and innate freedom. Welcome to the flow of enlightenment. Transformation is all there is.
Oh, and welcome to the Flow of Enlightenment, everyone. We're here with G.P. Walsh and myself, Lisa Berry. And are you guys ready to carry enormous weight, perform feats of superhuman strength, and move large obstacles out of the path towards self-realization? I think we are. Hi, G.P.
Good morning, or good afternoon for you. Good morning for me still.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it feels like a superhero show today almost, you know? Like, I feel like if I just hold this crystal or wear this belt, I can do anything.
That's right. Stick my ring in this hole or something. It's, well, the Hindu gods they're superheroes.
Yes. The best, most colorful comic books.
Yeah, they are. They're so much more interesting than our Western things. Yeah.
We don't make enough stuff up around ours. You know, they have so many beautiful things. You know, we're doing Ganesha today. I love the obstacle remover of obstacles, and clearing away the obstacles, and just the picture alone that they've created with so many hands and arms and holding. It's not just tools, but we're going to talk about all this that help us to awaken our power that we have right here within us. It's ours.
Yes. Yeah,
and I'd love to kick off with this one big question that's going to just take us the whole way through is obstacles. I would love for you to define them, because right now I'm thinking, it's anything I don't like in life. It's an obstacle. Let's call Ganesha in and get it out of the way. But I think it's a little bit more than that.
Well, that's part of it. The obstacles that we run into in life are always things that are, that which is in between where I am and where I want to be, whether that be, what I want to accomplish, or what do I want to attain, or what do I want to have. There always seems to be things in the way of attaining them. And Ganesha, as a god, which is a metaphor, right? All the gods and goddesses are in you. Right? There are no gods and goddesses out there. None. Not even the one we like in the West. None of them are out there. They are all basically disowned aspects of ourselves. And so Ganesha brings our attention back that the obstacles in our lives are all self-created. You are the only obstacle to everything. What you've come to believe, what you've come to feel is true, what the assumptions you have, and therefore the perceptions that those assumptions give rise to, and then the way you interact with the world. And the world is your perception of it and nothing more. That's all we ever interact with. So the real image is of it's not like this big beast, this is in my way, it pulls it away, and then I get what I want. It's a reminder that it's you're in the way.
That's interesting. Hold on. I want, first of all, you said disowned aspects. So external gods are disowned aspects of ourselves?
Yes, exactly so. When you are, it's another name for the angels in the basement. They're aspects of ourselves, our divine nature, our inherent authority, our inherent creativity, and beauty, and wonder, and miraculousness, all of which we get separated from due to our experiences as children, mostly, and the traumatic experience of not being accepted by your tribe, which none of us were. Right? I mean, it's the universal experience that even if you have the very best of parents, a big portion of their job is enculturating you. It is bringing you into the dominant culture so that you can behave according to the rules of the culture. And the only way you can do that is to be able to disown vast swaths of you, vast parts of you that are simply unacceptable to the culture. And this is the existential crisis that we all experience. Because I can't be anything than what I am, but what I am is not acceptable to the environment. The environment holds the power of life or death over me. Therefore, I have two very difficult options. I either have to become somebody else that I'm not, which means I have to bury everything about me that is unique and beautiful and special and nonconformist, or I have to die.
Yeah.
Not a very cheerful choice. It's not the kind of thing we dream about with free will, but basically that's what happens. And the end result then is all sorts of aspects of our nature get completely buried out of sight, deep in the body, deep in the nervous system. This is the existential trauma, and it had happened to all of us. But because we actually are ourselves, it wasn't acceptable. All that energy of the reality of us is still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. And it comes out sideways, it comes out in projections, and it comes out in these mythological characters, these gods and goddesses that we have projected ourselves onto. They have this great power, I don't. And that's the disowning of it. We disown the very best parts of ourselves. We have to in order to survive. And so the whole purpose of spirituality and a character like Ganesha is to get you to realize that the only obstacle is this disowning of your own nature.
Yeah, you make me think of Halloween when we put on costumes, and it's still us under the costume, but we're putting this on. And
imagine putting on a costume, forgetting to take it off, and then from that moment on, you're Snow White or Spider-Man or something.
Right. Yes, and you'll still have so if you were a musician, you're still going to be a musician as you are Spider-Man. Different things will shine through. Question about I feel, because I'm one of them, who might have certain specific gods, if not just one, aspects of these gods in their home. As like I have Ganesha. Ganesha is the number one god I have everywhere. Like I really have lots of little fun things. But somebody else may have Lord Shiva, or somebody else may have whomever. And does that mean that that's our most, like, maybe I struggle the most with obstacles and that's why I'm called to that god, and maybe somebody else has a money prosperity one because they have money issues, like their obstacles? Or are we drawn to the aspects of gods that we need to work on the most?
I think so. Yeah, I think there's kind of a natural affinity towards certain characters. There's a certain energy about Ganesha that draws you. The thing that's drawing you and the thing it is being drawn are both you. And but it has been externalized in these various kinds of forms. The more childish approach to this, and unfortunately that is the religious view in the West. It's very childish and infantile. Is that these are actual beings, right? And so there's this big war. No, ours is the only true God, which is what we do in the West. And we actually think that the mature spiritual people in India and the like believe that there's really an elephant god up there in the sky. They don't. They don't. They see it in that kind of aspect. They see it as a representation of an energetic force. Right. Which is why it's the only God. There is only the one God, and he has a gazillion faces, or she has a gazillion faces. You can't even say he or she. It doesn't really work. And yeah, you will tend to be drawn towards something like, as you said, money. You'd be drawn to something like Lakshmi, or
That's what I was trying to think of.
or the laughing
Yes.
Buddha, right?
Yeah.
It's a symbol of the symbol of prosperity, or the dragon, which is a symbol of prosperity in China. Not here, but in China it has that meaning. So this is kind of really fascinating. But we're always drawn towards ourselves. That's when you say something resonates with you. Why? Because it's you. That's why. You're looking in a mirror. But most of the time, we're like the kitten who looks in the mirror and thinks they're seeing another kitten.
Oh, I love when that happens. Oh, okay, right. Oh, yes, yes. So when we see something that does not resonate with us, and we immediately can feel that does not feel good, it does not feel right, I want to run from it, does that mean it's something that we still need to work on, or that we just recognize, like, no, that's false, that's not?
Yeah, well, the clearer you are, the more spiritually clear you are about who you are, the more that reaction will be a true seeing of something that is just incompatible, something that is of a lower vibration, and you're not interested in it. Until there's that kind of spiritual clarity, it's very likely it's an aspect of yourself that you're rejecting.
Right. So that's a trick. How do we identify which it is? Because when we're talking about, clearing away obstacles, how do we know that it's just something that we are, I like that you said that, it's, that's incompatible, I'm not interested, versus get that away from me, it scares the hell out of me, and I don't like it, so stop it.
Well, the only way, we have to develop a discerning eye. The only way we can is to know ourselves well enough to be able to tell the difference. And for most of us raised in the West, that's simply not the case. Our attractions and repulsions are all based on our cultural conditioning and have nothing to do, very little to do, with the real you. So it takes a spiritual maturing of being able to be with yourself consistently enough and long enough under the right kind of guidance that you can begin to discern the qualitative difference in the feel, because it has a qualitative difference. But if you can't tell the difference, you have to be humble enough to simply watch, and cautious enough to not be foolhardy. But if somebody can't tell the difference between a $100 bottle of wine and a $10 bottle of wine, you're not going to be able to sell them the $100 bottle of wine, and no matter how much you discount it.
Yes. I find this so super interesting, because I'm back to this word obstacles and finding out. So I love that you said an obstacle simply something that's in between the place where I am now and where I would like to be. And to me, then, an obstacle, I like that. We call upon the aspect of Ganesha to remove these obstacles with our beautiful primordial powers that we do have. However, I sense, and I'm feeling like if we have not yet developed that discerning eye, we don't know if it's an obstacle that we do want to move forward, or a thing that we need to run away, like get away from, because it's not good for us. Like, one thing's a lesson and one thing's a nothing.
Or it's life saying, not this way, go that way. It's not an obstacle at all. It's a signpost.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, that's where I was going. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, as they say in Zen, there is no obstacle on the path. The obstacle is the path. Every obstacle represents an unconscious, as of yet, unhealed and unembraced aspect of yourself. Every single one. That's the meaning of Ganesha. None of them are out there. The obstacles are all in you. So when you run up against something, you're running up against the limitations of your own mind, you're running into your own assumptions. You're running into your own perception and worldview.
Running into your own perception.
Yeah,
I threw out my head
so
around.
it has to become an introspective journey. if it's all about, I just got to get this obstacle out of the way, there's no humility in that. There's no spiritual desire in that. There's no openness or willingness to be spiritually educated in that. I just want to get rid of this so I can continue to do exactly what I've always been doing.
I like that. No, I'm joking. No, well, because it's not that it's work, but it's the work. It's not.
It's not
should we enjoy it? Yeah.
It's not. It's not laborious. It can take some discipline and it can take some effort, but the rewards are so huge that and the rewards are peace, equanimity, patience, maturity, a willingness to let things develop on their own time. You're not in a hurry. So the qualities that it develops within oneself are those powers of the gods and goddesses that remove the obstacle.
Right. It's funny. Now I'm making a joke here, but I was like, it's like a spiritual stew. It always tastes better the next day, so have patience.
Absolutely. It's always better reheated.
I know we'll go to a commercial here, but I think this is a very valuable topic to begin, because I see what you're saying there is if we're going to take the time to self-inquiry, it does take patience and practice, and that discerning eye. I think I want to really come back there after commercial about how do we develop that discerning eye and know the difference when we're back on the flow of enlightenment.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Touch, move, and inspire. Sharing your story of how you overcame your deepest struggle will serve as someone else's survival guide. You are ready to get the book out of your head and onto the page. I'm Jocelyn Bellows, host of Breakdown to Wake Up, a live stream show dedicated to sharing personal journeys of men and women who have traversed through mazes of uncertainty, dark clouds, and dishonoring themselves, and the lessons they have learned along this path of what one can accomplish in our own self-discovery. And as a writing and life coach, I work with men and women to break through the BS of their lives to find their own voice and leaping into a life they love. It is my belief that when we share our stories of how we overcame what we have been through, it will serve as someone else's survival guide. So if you're ready to get the book out of your head and onto the page, I'd love to hear from you. Go to www.jocelynbellows.com and join me every Tuesday at noon Eastern and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern.
If I could be you,
and you could be me,
for just 1 hour,
if you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind,
walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Flow of Enlightenment. And as always, we invite your questions live here with GP Walsh. The number to call in is 202-570-6868. 7057. All right. And I was able to form my question a little better there with those commercial breaks, GP. And because I was kind of sitting on developing that discerning eye, and I was wondering, you had mentioned earlier, about it doesn't feel like free will when we have that choice to either change or die, but that's where my question is this where the ego helps us develop the discerning eye, or it is absolutely the ego who keeps us from the discerning eye?
Well, the ego is let's understand first what it is, okay?
Okay.
Before because it is a safety mechanism turned obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
In order to survive, right, is the scenario I was talking about before. When you make this decision, I'm either going to die or I'm going to have to just bury myself in the basement. Well, What happens then is that the behaviors that are punished, which are your natural behaviors, get stuck down in the basement. They have to be suppressed. Suppressed is the technical term for it. And what happens then is that the nervous system, this is all very unconscious. You're not choosing any of this, by the way. Right? A lot of this happens before you can even talk, let alone participate in the process, because it's all just this coming out of your own vulnerability. Well, the nervous system then finds behaviors, patterns, ways of doing everything that will guarantee that it gets from the environment what it needs. Those patterns of behavior become your habitual conditioning. They become the way you interact in the world. Now, they're manufactured by the nervous system to make sure that you present to the environment the picture needed to get your needs taken care of and survive. Right? Now, they may bear some resemblance to the real you. They may not. But a great deal of it won't. Now, as we mature and more of our thinking comes online and the sense of identity begins to arise within us, it identifies not with the suppressed material. It doesn't even know it's there. Right? It's completely buried. It identifies with the set of conditioned behaviors that is being presented to the environment. That becomes who we think we are. And that self-image of myself as the conditioned patterns is the ego.
Okay.
That is the sense of self that is not you. Now, obviously, as a defense mechanism, as a key to surviving, it's absolutely necessary. I mean, you have to be somebody.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, when that is deeply inhibited, that becomes schizophrenia, or even multiple personalities. The schizophrenic has no concrete sense of identity. They were so abused that they couldn't become anybody at all.
Oh my gosh.
So, it's kind of like psychological autism, where everything is overwhelming. Right? You can walk into a shoe store, and you'll be drawn to, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 pairs of shoes. Women can go up to 10, men 3.
I thank you for upping that. No,
right? Yeah, I mean, for women it's a bunch of shoes. For men, you should see 2 or 3. Right?
Right.
Yeah, but there's 500 pairs of shoes. Now imagine if you walked in and all 500 pairs of shoes were of equal weight to you.
Those are like Virgos. No,
you'd freak.
Yeah.
This is the world of the schizophrenic. They don't have a sense of identity that narrows down the field. So as a survival mechanism, it's extremely valuable. But the problem is, because we get so used to thinking of ourselves as that we get very attached, very just really overwhelmed with our attachment to this being who I actually am. All the while, the real you is still there, buried under the surface, every now and kind of slipping out the side or or doing something completely unexpected. And so now this sense of identity, that this is me, becomes the obstacle between you and rediscovering who you actually really are. And that's why it's completely an internal journey. And this is what Ganesha represents, that power to go through all of those beliefs back to the original innocence that you really are.
Okay, this is huge. Okay, that shoe analogy was so helpful. Thank you. Because some people are even afraid to make a choice of which shoe because there might be in their condition that it's not safe for me to make a decision because I'm going to be wrong or my choice is going to hurt somebody. And so when you said that, how that aspect becomes an obstacle, I get that because there are people right now trying to decide. Let's take it like the obstacle is they want to change their job. They're forced to change their job, let's say, in this economy, or they have to change their diet because they now have, I don't know, they're celiac or something. But they don't know what, and they say, I don't know what to do. I don't know which to choose. I don't know what this choice to make. Yeah. Okay, so that the obstacles because somewhere along the line they've picked up an aspect that they are attached to because it had kept them safe, and they need to either let it go to become themselves, which really puts them they feel like they might not be so safe, or they're just afraid of what's on the other side.
Both.
Oh, well, that's a double whammy.
Yeah, it's a double whammy. Right. Anytime we're forced into a situation where we have to really have to make a change, the nervous system is going to freak out, right? I mean, it has stabilized itself in a particular position that works, right?
Yes.
And it's so, like any stable system, it wants to stay in that position because it works. Now, it doesn't know if something changes. It doesn't know whether or not you're going to be able to. It's going to be able to protect you over there.
Yes, protection.
So it simply says, no, we're not going. Period.
Safety. Mm-hmm.
Even if you know in your heart and in your head, it's better. it's more progressive. It's more prosperous. Everything. It represents a threat to the lowest level of safety, which isn't concerned with prosperity or intimacy or fun. It doesn't care about any of that. Only safety. That's its only criteria for choosing. And this is the most active element in us. And so it will resist change until the pain of staying where you are is less than the pain of the change.
Yes.
Or something awakens inside of you that recognizes that this is happening and begins to reconcile with it.
I love that reconciliation piece. Let's go there because, and just a share is in
you drive.
All right. I remember because it was in my signature story for so long that one of the lines in my signature story says that my life had become anorexic as the less and less that I had to carry around with me, the smaller I was, the more I felt in control, but the more I wasn't. Because even though I could get it down to one knapsack, as my niece corrected me, it's a backpack. Oh, sorry, right. You can't call it one of them. Sorry, she is. I'm not. I have to be hip, right? And so and I thought, okay, great. Now I feel safe because I've only got this one knapsack or backpack and not a whole house full of stuff. Look at me. And then I was like, no, but now I'm guarding this bag with even more. Like, gosh, if I lost this, I'll lose everything. And so something like you said, that awakening has to happen where it's okay if I did lose it all because I still have everything.
That's the awakening. Which
and how did that happen
represents.
Then? Yes. Yeah, so how did I? So I know that I went to. I didn't think about that. I didn't mentally go, oh, right, you need to do inner reconciliation, Lisa. Let's get this done. So how does a person step into inner reconciliation?
Well, when we come to the point where we want to actually actively participate in our growth, rather than just be forced into it.
Right. I was forced. No.
Right? Yeah, I mean, most of us are. That's what's happening with COVID.
Yes.
Probably every big event that's ever happened in my life was forced on me. I see it now as an act of pure grace. I certainly didn't at the time, right? But when you begin to realize that you want to actively participate in creating the environment that you're living in, you run up against all the inner resistance to making that change. Now, you can either try to force your will upon the inner resistance, which is what self-help does. Sorry to say, self-help in most spiritual practices, that's what they do. They're just going to kind of force it to conform, right? I find that to be almost futile, because it's way better at resisting than you are at forcing. It's got way more power than you do.
Yes.
And in fact, the more you try to force it, the more it will resist. Because basically you're trying to tell it to not do the one thing it knows how to do.
Right. Right.
And so it's perfectly defended against whatever you throw at it. Which is why people make a little bit of progress and then find themselves falling back. Because they don't really understand what's happening. If you understand what's happening, then you're no longer fighting it. You're beginning to reconcile with it. You're no longer trying to force it into being something that it isn't. You're finding a different way for it to be what it is. To use a different strategy to attain the same result as far as safety is concerned. And at that point, what happens is the very thing that's resisting you begins to support you in what you're doing.
That sounds like magic.
It is magic. The energy system in a defensive posture is what we feel is resistance. When the danger passes, all of the energy that has been defending against the danger immediately flips over to the other side and begins the process of self-expression. This is what it does. This is how the energy is used. And it's automatic.
Can you use that on a global scale? Like right now, the way the world is, I'm going deep here, heavy here, heavy energy, is that, okay, we're resisting against many things, and we truly believe them to not be good. Is to clarify my brain, is this to say that we can actually have it flip so it helps us, or is there some energy that's truly like, no, that's not for our safety?
Well, the thing is that when you're in an argument with it, right, and you're fighting against it, your capacity to know what is truly dangerous and what isn't is completely destroyed, because your view of what's dangerous is what's been culturally conditioned into you. Right? This is dangerous. This is good for you. This isn't, which is completely culturally conditioned. And as we know that right now our culture is so messed up, that this food is good for you and it's not, right?
Yes.
Selling you sugar water and processed crap that has no nutritional value. This is what is pitched, and so we're attached to a particular way of life that is self-destructive, right? But we have to let go of that. And of course, this is what's happening in the world. It's being forced to let go of that because it's not sustainable, and it's enormously dangerous, pushing us all to the precipice. But we ignorantly don't want to change, and so we keep trying to imagine we don't have to, and we keep trying to imagine that we can, we can go back to the way it was, right? Make America stupid again.
Can our beliefs overpower marketing? Can our if we believe sugar water is good for us and we believe what we've been marketed to, can our bodies still adapt even and consume? I mean, diabetes will tell me no, you can't. But I'm using it as an example. I do mean in many other things.
Not. The body is nature. The body is completely intertwined with nature. It knows what's good for it and what isn't, but we ignore that. We're not paying any attention to that. We've created our own imaginary, delusional place that is completely divorced from any point of reference. And so the answer is absolutely not. You can't do that. And why would you even want to?
So is the obstacle in that case you not educated? Oh, hold on. Is the obstacle
is that we are attached to things being the way they are and staying the way they are.
stopping growth, the
to
obstacles
point
stopping
we're
growth.
not even willing to examine whether or not it's smart, useful, healthy, or progressive.
Oh, I like that. Smart. Hold on here. Useful, progressive. I know there's another word you said in there.
Healthy.
Healthy. Oh, geez, how do I forget that word?
How'd you forget that? Nutrition.
Yeah. Actually, that's a great checklist, everyone. So everybody listening, and I'm going to give the number again to call in after the commercial break, should you have a question. But I like that is, you said examine. I like that word. So it's not just self-inquiry, but to also examine our environment, to ask ourselves, is this healthy? Is this smart? Is this useful? Or is this progress?
Yes, and the self-inquiry is, why am I attached to stuff that isn't smart, isn't useful, isn't healthy, and isn't progressive?
Okay, could we do that? Like, is that a question, say? So why am I attached to these things that aren't? And
Absolutely. And then you'll find all your energetic patterns right there. And what it really is the same stuff that is trying to keep the real you out of sight. And so it keeps you attached to all sorts of external things that are not useful. Right? Some of them might think, well, this is very useful, right? So like, in modern business, a big corporation, you have the word efficiency, right? It's very efficient. So, and it's efficient from the point of view of making money. It's completely inefficient from the point of view of the sustainability of the earth. So it's all a matter of where I'm going to draw my little boundaries, right? Self-inquiry would reveal that is a completely myopic and self-absorbed perspective, and you then would be forced to abandon it.
Gosh, yes. Okay, I've got a really hot question when we get back, throwing it into the flow. But if you'd like to call in, just call us at 202-570-7057. And we could take your question when you get back into the flow here, the flow of enlightenment. And boy, do I have a big one for you, GP, when we get back. Okay.
I'll prepare.
Okay.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Coping-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
If you're feeling increasingly lonely right now, you're not alone. It's totally normal. Even though we may not be able to get together in person, connecting virtually with friends and family still gives you a chance to interact with people and may help raise your spirits. Join a virtual book club, set up group text chats, or online video coffee breaks with coworkers.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
All right. I just wanted to not only invite everybody to, if you have a question, you can absolutely call in, but you could also, if you happen to listen to the replay here and you think, I do have a question, you can always email us at questions at gpwalsh.com, or you can jump onto Facebook and be a part of the group that we have here. It's GP Walsh, Spiritual Teacher. And boy, there's lots of fun stuff going on there. GP, you go live and you answer questions and there's conversations. So it's a great place to be, guys. So come over and join us there. Okay, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone to ask you this question. Because it's intense for me to even hear it, and that's sometimes where I go, oh, is this my discerning eye, or is this my rejection eye? What is this? Okay, we do have a caller. Okay, whoosh. Okay, let's take the caller. Let's bring on the caller, and I'll save my deep question for a minute. Okay, come on.
Hi, Jude and Lisa.
Hello.
Alessandra.
Hi. I do have a question. Why would we need an elephant?
Because he's big and strong. No, GP, you go.
Yes. Well, the elephant occupies a very. It's a beast of enormous respect, and enormously. Revered in India simply because of its characteristics. It is absolutely strong. It has no natural enemies. Nothing would dare challenge it. It's a vegetarian, right? A body that big, and it just eats plants and the like. And because of that strength, nothing can stand against it. So it's a beautiful image for that spiritual strength that sustains us through sadhana, through our spiritual growth, and so it's really quite a, then it gets animated as the elephant god, and in fact you'll see in some temples in India that the temple will actually be supported, that the support beams are elephant figures, and the mythology is that the elephants were actually clouds that came down to support the earth because of their strength. So it's this marvelous mythology of the nature of the elephant, which is why it's such a powerful thing. Plus, they're extremely friendly.
Yes,
they're extremely cooperative, and they do have very, very long memories. They don't forget stuff. So that's actually very true, that an elephant does not forget. So that's why it became the symbol of that. And all of the mythological symbols get picked up and turned and amplified into god and goddesses figures. Simply because of their natural characteristics. They take those natural characteristics and then they're amplified. And how those kind of characteristics... remember that in the East, their view of the universe and the world is not, God here and creation over here. They see the God creating energy as immanent in all things. So they would see that there's a Ganesha in you, there's a Ganesha in me, that these are aspects of consciousness, and therefore to be worshipped as an indicator, an insight, an invitation into my own true being. So it becomes very deeply spiritual. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Great. Boy, that was easy.
Yeah, and I love that Ganesha has a little mouse friend, and that he shares a little piece of cheese with and all that stuff. He's fun.
Yes, that's right.
I'm always looking for the little mouse, and even that has been said to have different meanings. For me, I always felt that mine is not the most common. I always thought that the little mouse was there because it's to represent that this little piece of cheese or morsel of food wouldn't feed the elephant, but it would completely fill the mouse's little belly. So the elephant was like, of course, take it. It's going to be, it will help complete you and sustain you, and it wouldn't do anything for me. So it was like a sharing thing that I always witnessed.
Well, then that's exactly what it means. That's what the symbols are about. It's also, it's supposed to be, it can represent in Ganesha reducing desire down to a manageable level. And the desire, getting our desires under control rather than controlling us. And that's another aspect that Ganesha, of strength that Ganesha represents, is our power to transcend and not be dominated by our desires, which is attachment and aversion, which is the cause of suffering.
Yes. All right. Okay, so here is that big tough question, because you kind of that was supporting of it as well. Okay, so when we think what you said about what's keeping us from. Okay, so our ego, we're talking about the ego, and then we have this, what's keeping us from looking, from self-inquiry, from changing, and is it always, do you believe, or can you share with us, is that always something inside of us, or is it possible that there are external forces leading us to want to believe something? They're keeping us from knowing something, that there's like another planet of aliens who are stepping in and doing something, or different bloodlines of people. And so I just wonder, because the question comes up is, are we stopping ourselves from seeing things, or is it possible that others are stopping us from seeing things?
Well, the whole thing about others, it's like, if somebody else is stopping, there's not much I can do about it, so it's not even worth thinking about.
Okay.
Right? I mean, who cares then, right? If I can't do anything about it, why bother? Let's go to where I can do something about it, and that's where I'm stopping myself. Okay. And we have to understand that while it feels like resistance to the things that we want, it is actually that energy of self-protection. That's all it's trying to do. It is not your enemy. Right? That's why I call it reconciling with it. It is not your enemy. It's an overzealous friend. It's an ignorant friend. It's one who just doesn't know how to do it in any other way. A clumsy friend. Remember what's happening. Why is self-inquiry so difficult? Well, remember what happened in the first place that I explained before, that gave rise to the ego. And that was the real you, right, couldn't come out because it was dangerous for it to do so.
Yes.
So what's the last thing, the energy system, this sense of self that was created to hide that, what's the last thing it wants you to do?
Step out, yeah.
Is to get back to it, because it is convinced that if you do, you're going to die. That's the resistance to self-inquiry, and it's the only resistance to self-inquiry.
Oh.
When you understand that, you begin to work with it. The doors easily start to open, and you find that. Yes, you'll run into layers of stuff that are in the way, trying to, be throwing a rock in the bush, or some huge fear will come up, and, Mara and his daughters, or anything to distract you from going there, because it is the biggest, that's the existential fear, that's the existential trauma. It's trying to keep that under wraps, because it's absolutely afraid for its life. That's why it feels like a death, and they can sometimes call it the ego death, right? Which is a complete misunderstanding of it, by the way, but that's another story. And so getting back to that original innocence, you basically, it feels like you're walking through hell, which is very strange. In the Greek mythology, as many, hell, the underworld, is guarded by a three-headed dog named Kerberos, right?
Yes.
Why in the world would anybody be guarding hell?
Yes, exactly.
Because what it really represents is this area, this complete unknown area within you. Right? It's typified as a hell. You don't want to go there. It's terrible, bad things, and in fact, it's really heaven.
Oh. Because it's where you, yes, okay, yes.
It's where you really are.
Right. Okay, what about phobias? I'm afraid of heights, afraid of bridges, afraid of snakes, afraid of whatever that could be. Mm-hmm. Did we saw, at some point in our lives, had something happen around it, and to protect ourselves, we are afraid of it?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly so. There can be something that There's some kind of an association there. And I actually worked with people who've had those kinds of phobias. One who couldn't drive over bridges. She just couldn't drive over a bridge.
Right.
She'd have to go 2 hours out of her way to avoid a bridge, right?
Right, because she thinks she will literally die or be harmed.
Yes, because energetically, the body is in panic mode. It's absolutely convinced. Right? You have to understand these are not beliefs like in the head that you can talk about. These are energetic patterns in the nervous system. I call them energetic assumptions. You oftentimes you can't even put them into words, but the body is convinced that it will die if it goes over to that bridge. So it's just not going to let you do it.
Right, and is that why the body freezes and it just cannot?
Yes,
the body is
absolutely.
like, screw you,
Absolutely.
I'm not going.
I'm not going. It'll forget, right? Suddenly you forget where you want to go, right? Or something will grab your attention, and before you know it, you're off somewhere else. Anything to keep that from happening, and it's got a lot of resources at its disposal.
Yes.
To keep that from happening. Resources, by the way, that if that wasn't there would be available to you, which is the great reward of going through this whole process. But that's how it works. That's why these things are so powerful. We call them the unconscious, which is really just a word we made up to try to figure out where thoughts went when we weren't thinking them, right?
Yeah, we need an address here. Come on.
we need an address, right? There really isn't any such thing. There's only these energetic patterns of behavior.
Now, with hypnotherapy or hypnosis, yes, that's what we use. Is that possible to use that to change the pattern?
Well, yes, things like hypnotherapy and and I have some really close friends that are hypnotherapists. They're beautiful people, doing a lot of good work for the world. But some of them get that, it's only operating on one level. It's going to shift up. It can shift the patterns in the system. It can shift some of those energy patterns into things that are more helpful, and it's really good. It can't tell you who you are, though. It can't get you to that original innocence. It doesn't know it's there. The working theory behind all of those kinds of psychological techniques is that you are this, and that this other. There's no recognition of this actual originally innocent primordial being there. It's all about just shifting the conditioning. And there's no self-discovery.
Okay, that is actually huge, and I'd like to take this opportunity to invite people to your website actually for this reason. That was huge for me to learn that this is, we are simply, whether it's self-help or some of these modalities, we are shifting around the multiple, just changing different between programs, or like turning left, turning right. Here we go. We're doing the hokey pokey around all these programs. Right? That's a fun title. I know, but what it cannot tell you, and I love that you said, but what it cannot do is tell you who you are, and that is what self inquiry is all about. And we are inviting you to come to the website. So go to gpwalsh.com, and first of all, you can grab your free copy of Angels in the Basement, which is a super helpful, great place to start. But also learn about what this inner reconciliation is all about and how you do that. And I know you run the big courses every quarterly. We're just wrapped one up. But you can also work one-on-one. And you know what? Just even for me, GP, I've been with you now 23 weeks of doing this, and it's. It's, and you're right, you have to take, because even if I just did this once a week with you, I wouldn't be as far. I really do have to do the work. And so if you guys are listening and, whether you want to write questions at gpwalsh.com, or come join the Facebook group at GP Walsh Spiritual Teacher, or the best thing is to honestly just come to the website, get on our list, the light letter, and pick up that copy so you can start reading that. But if I didn't do all that, GP, I would also just have stirred the pot a little bit, but then, still be a mess. So the support is huge. The support is huge.
I have no problem with personal development and all that. Obviously, somebody having a more functional life than a less functional life is always welcome. But for me, it's all about the existential question. I want to know who I am. I just don't want a better functioning version of me. I just don't want, GP 3.8. I want, what am I really?
That's the best place to leave that right there. Is like, we don't just want to have a better version of ourselves. We want to know who we are. So if you like that, it's best to jump into the flow of enlightenment with us every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and come join us and say hi to us in all those other ways. So thank you so much, GP. This has been a really helpful one for me. Let's clear away the obstacles.
That's right. You are Ganesha. You are all the gods and goddesses. They are all aspects of you. And they appear as these mythological figures as a device for turning you back towards the rediscovery of that which is all the gods and goddesses and everything else in the universe.
Well, thank you all the gods and goddesses who have joined us. We'll see you next week. Thanks, GP.